the shadow within. The rain hammered against the windshield as the car's headlights sliced through the thick forest darkness. Jenna tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her knuckles white. She wasn't supposed to be here, but when her brother Sam went missing 3 weeks ago, the secluded town of Black Hollow became her only destination. The townsfolk had been tight-lipped about Sam, offering little more than cryptic warnings and hurried glances. The last known sighting placed him near Hollow Creek Manor, a dilapidated estate that stood like a rotting sentinel in the heart of the forest. Tonight, she intended to find out why. As Jenna pulled up to the manor, the air grew heavy, almost alive. The towering structure loomed against the stormy sky, its shattered windows glinting like jagged teeth. Lightning illuminated the carvings above the door, ancient symbols she couldn't decipher. She hesitated before stepping out of the car, her flashlight casting a trembling beam into the encroaching shadows. The door groaned as it opened, revealing a grand but decaying foyer. The air smelled of mildew and something metallic. Jenna called out, her voice swallowed by the oppressive silence. The walls seemed to close in, the darkness curling around her like a predator. She moved deeper inside, her flashlight flickering. As she reached the grand staircase, a whisper brushed past her ear.
Jenna.
She froze. The voice was faint but unmistakable. It was Sam's. Sam, she called, her voice breaking. She spun around, the beam of her flashlight dancing erratically, but the hall was empty. Only the storm's distant rumble answered. Her instincts screamed at her to leave, but she pressed on, ascending the stairs. The whispering grew louder, shifting to laughter, cold and cruel. At the top of the stairs, she found a corridor lined with doors, each slightly ajar. A faint glow seeped from one at the far, and as Jenna approached, the glow intensified, and the laughter twisted into agonized screams. She pushed the door open to find a room filled with mirrors. Each reflected a distorted version of herself, eyes wide with terror. But in one, Sam stood behind her, his face pale and hollow. Sam! She spun around, but the room was empty. The reflection's lips moved, though no sound escaped. She stepped closer, her own reflection growing dimmer as Sam's grew sharper.
Leave.
His reflection mouthed.
It's not me.
The mirrors shattered, and Jenna screamed, shielding her face. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the room but in a dimly lit basement. Chains hung from the ceiling, and the walls were smeared with dried blood. A faint sobbing echoed through the space. She followed the sound, finding a figure huddled in the corner. It was Sam. His hands were bound, his face streaked with dirt and tears. Sam! She cried, rushing to him. But as she touched his shoulder, he recoiled, his eyes wide with fear.
It's too late.
He whispered.
It knows you're here.
Before she could respond, the basement door slammed shut, and the room plunged into darkness. A guttural growl filled the air, followed by the sound of something heavy dragging across the floor. Jenna's flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating a grotesque figure, a monstrous shadow with glowing red eyes. Jenna grabbed a piece of broken chain, brandishing it like a weapon. The creature lunged, but its movements were jerky, almost hesitant. She swung the chain and it passed through the shadow as though it were smoke. The creature laughed, a deep, resonant sound that made her stomach churn.
You cannot fight me.
It hissed.
You brought yourself here.
Desperation surged through her. She pulled Sam to his feet, dragging him toward the faint outline of a door. The creature's laughter followed, but it didn't chase them. As they stumbled out into the forest, Jenna dared to look back. The manor was gone, replaced by an endless expanse of trees. Sam's breathing was ragged as he collapsed against a tree.
You shouldn't have come,
he said, his voice trembling. I wasn't going to leave you, she replied, her resolve hardening. We're getting out of here. But as she turned to face him, she froze. Sam's shadow stretched unnaturally long, its edges writhing like tendrils. His eyes glowed faintly red.
You never left.
He whispered, his voice not his own. The forest dissolved into darkness, and Jenna's scream echoed as the shadows consumed her. When the search party found her car the next morning, it was empty. The only clue was a shattered flashlight and a faint whisper carried on the wind. Jenna, the end.